I was so vigilant about the canon of Deadpool to make sure that we get every aspect of it right, that even the most kind of scrupulous fanboy or fangirl could sit down and go, that's Deadpool. That's the Deadpool I know, love, and need.
Ryan Reynolds just delivered Marvel their biggest hit in years, a $1.3 billion box office monster that proved the MCU could still dominate. And Disney's response, according to multiple sources, was to cut his pay for future films. Reynolds reportedly didn't take that quietly. He allegedly told Disney executives that their decision to lowball him after that level of success proves they don't understand value, don't respect talent, and are making decisions that will cause the MCU to, in his words, fall forever. Stay until the end. Because this isn't just about one salary dispute. This is about a pattern that is actively dismantling the most successful franchise in Hollywood history from the inside out. If you follow the real business of Marvel, the franchise wars, the talent disputes, and everything the studios would rather keep behind closed doors, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Now let's get into all of it. To understand how catastrophically Disney misjudged this situation, you have to start with what Deadpool and Wolverine actually meant for the MCU. Going into that film, Marvel was in genuine trouble. Post-Endgame box office had been inconsistent at best and embarrassing at worst. The Marvels became one of the lowest-grossing MCU films in franchise history. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania disappointed. Even films that turned a profit weren't generating the cultural conversation or the opening weekend dominance that defined Marvel's peak years. Audience enthusiasm was measurably declining, and nobody in Hollywood had a clean answer for why or how to fix it. Deadpool and Wolverine answered that question decisively. The film grossed over $1.3 billion worldwide, making it one of the highest-grossing R-rated films ever made and the most successful entry in the Deadpool franchise by a significant margin. It proved that audiences would still show up for MCU content. If it was good, if it delivered what fans actually wanted, and if it featured actors people genuinely cared about watching on screen. Reynolds brought Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. He personally developed the story. He was a creative force at every stage of that production, not just the face on the poster. His back-end participation deal, tied to the film's performance, reportedly earned him somewhere between $50 and $80 million total from the project. A number that reflects the actual value he brought to the table. And then Disney looked at that number and allegedly decided he was making too much going forward. According to insiders familiar with the negotiations, when Disney reached out to Reynolds about future MCU appearances, potential sequels, Avengers ensemble films, crossover appearances, the offer they put on the table was not what Reynolds expected after delivering a $1.3 billion film. The reported offer was in the range of $15 to $20 million upfront, with significantly reduced back-end participation compared to his Deadpool and Wolverine deal. That is a substantial pay cut for an actor who had just proven beyond any reasonable argument that he is one of Marvel's most valuable assets. Disney's reported internal logic was that since Deadpool is now officially embedded in the MCU, and since future projects would benefit from ensemble casts and the broader Marvel brand infrastructure, Reynolds should accept less because he wouldn't be carrying films on his own the way he did before. He'd be one piece of a larger puzzle. That logic is both insulting and economically backwards. Reynolds' team countered with a request for approximately $30 to $40 million per film with substantial back-end participation, pointing out, correctly, that Reynolds had just delivered Marvel's most successful film in years, that Deadpool is now one of the franchise's most popular characters, and that his value had been proven with a $1.3 billion receipt. Disney reportedly came back with $25 million and reduced back-end. They reportedly told Reynolds' team this was their final number, and that Reynolds should be grateful for the continued opportunity, given how valuable the Marvel Association is for an actor's career. That last part, the suggestion that Reynolds should be grateful after delivering what he just delivered, reportedly ended the negotiation entirely. According to sources with knowledge of the conversations, Reynolds' response to Disney's final offer was direct and unambiguous. He told his representatives he was done with the MCU. He wasn't going to accept being undervalued after proving his worth, and Disney's decision to reduce his compensation following Deadpool and Wolverine's success demonstrated a level of short-sighted thinking that would, in his view, ultimately destroy the franchise. The phrase that's being reported, "the MCU will fall forever," allegedly came from Reynolds himself in internal conversations with his team. The reported substance of what he said was this: if Disney's response to massive success is to cut the pay of the people who created that success, then no major talent will want to work under those conditions. Why would anyone give their best work to Marvel if success is punished rather than rewarded? Reynolds also reportedly noted that he doesn't need Marvel. He has a Deadpool franchise that existed before the MCU and could exist outside it again. He has aviation gin and other business ventures worth hundreds of millions. He has Maximum Effort, his production company, generates successful content across multiple platforms. Walking away from Marvel is not a financial crisis for Ryan Reynolds. It is a financial crisis for whatever Marvel planned to do with Deadpool next. He allegedly told Disney he'd be open to returning if they wanted to negotiate in good faith with compensation that reflected his actual value. If not, he wished them luck finding someone else who could replicate what he and Hugh Jackman built together. We still need to cover the creative control disputes that compounded all of this, what Reynolds' exit actually means for Deadpool's future, and the broader pattern of Disney's talent management destroying Marvel from within. Stick with me. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this connects to something much larger than one negotiation breakdown. The financial dispute didn't exist in isolation. Running parallel to the salary negotiations were reportedly significant tensions about creative direction. And this may be equally important to understanding why Reynolds walked. According to sources, Disney has been pushing for future Deadpool appearances to be more tightly integrated into the overall MCU narrative structure. That would mean Reynolds having less autonomous control over the character's direction, and, critically, potentially being required to tone down the R-rated humor and violence that are fundamental to what Deadpool is. Reynolds has been explicit and consistent throughout his entire involvement with the character. Deadpool only works with genuine creative freedom. The fourth wall breaks, the inappropriate humor, the willingness to operate outside normal superhero conventions, those aren't stylistic choices that can be dialed up or down, depending on the film's rating requirements. They are the character. Remove them and you don't have Deadpool, you have a guy in a red suit. Disney reportedly pitched Reynolds on Deadpool appearing in PG-13 Avengers films where the character would need to be moderated for the broader MCU audience. Reynolds allegedly made clear that this fundamentally misunderstands what makes Deadpool valuable. The character works precisely because he isn't like every other MCU hero. Forcing him into that mold would destroy the exact thing audiences paid $1.3 billion to see. So Reynolds was looking at a future with Marvel that involved less money and less creative control over the character he spent years protecting and developing. The combination made the decision straightforward. Reynolds' situation does not exist in a vacuum. It is the most visible manifestation of a documented pattern. Jeremy Renner spent over a decade as an original Avenger and reportedly felt creatively sidelined, financially undercompensated relative to his peers, and inadequately supported by Disney after his near-fatal snowplow accident in 2023 when he sustained more than 30 broken bones. He has since reportedly signed with DC Studios. Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over the Black Widow streaming release strategy before eventually settling. Jonathan Majors was fired, collapsing Marvel's entire Kang Dynasty narrative arc. Multiple actors have quietly declined to return for new projects when their contracts expired. According to industry insiders, Disney has been applying top-down pressure across Marvel Studios, reduce budgets, cut actor compensation, minimize back-end participation deals, operate leaner across the board. The mandate is being driven by Disney's broader corporate financial pressures, streaming losses, and Wall Street's relentless demand for improved quarterly profitability. The problem is that Marvel's success was never primarily a function of budgets and brand infrastructure. It was built on relationships with talent who were invested in their characters, on creative partnerships where actors felt valued and empowered, and on the quality that comes from having people who genuinely care about the work. When you systematically dismantle those relationships in the name of cost efficiency, you don't just save money. You eliminate the thing that made the money possible in the first place. The Reynolds situation directly parallels what reportedly happened with Chris Pine and Star Trek at Paramount. A studio trying to cut costs on the star who carries the franchise, that star walking away, and the franchise losing the momentum it had built. Paramount paid the price for that decision. Disney appears to be repeating the same mistake at a much, much larger scale. The immediate practical consequence is straightforward. There are no Deadpool films without Ryan Reynolds. The character and the actor are inseparable in audience perception, in the same way that Iron Man cannot exist without Robert Downey Jr., and Rick O'Connell cannot exist without Brendan Fraser. Any recasting attempt would be a commercial and critical disaster. Any planned MCU appearances built around Deadpool are now impossible without Reynolds at the table. The broader industry response has been telling. Agents and managers representing other MCU actors are reportedly using the Reynolds situation actively in their own negotiations, pointing out to Disney that even delivering $1.3 billion doesn't guarantee fair treatment, and that their clients need contractual protections against Disney's tendency to reduce terms following proven success. Other studios are reportedly reaching out to Reynolds directly, recognizing that one of Hollywood's biggest stars is now available for projects he might have been too committed to consider before. The path back exists, but it requires Disney to do something corporate institutions rarely do voluntarily: acknowledge they made a mistake. According to sources, Reynolds would consider returning if offered approximately $40 to $50 million per film, with significant back-end participations, plus guaranteed creative control over Deadpool's characterization. For context, that is less than what Robert Downey Jr. was earning at his MCU peak, and Reynolds has demonstrated he delivers comparable franchise value. But that would require Disney to reverse course on the cost-cutting mandates that triggered this situation. And every day they wait, Reynolds moves further into other projects and his leverage increases while Marvel's options narrow. The MCU's current problems are not fundamentally about superhero fatigue. Audiences proved with Deadpool and Wolverine that they will show up enthusiastically when the product is right and the talent is right. The real problem is a corporate approach that treats talent as a cost to be minimized rather than a value to be invested in. Every dollar Disney saves by underpaying Ryan Reynolds is worth less than a fraction of what they lose by not having Ryan Reynolds. That math is not complicated. And yet here we are. Reynolds delivered exactly what Marvel needed at exactly the moment they needed it most. He brought back Hugh Jackman. He developed the story. He delivered $1.3 billion. And Disney's response was to tell him he should be grateful for the opportunity and accept less money going forward. If that is how Disney responds to success, if that is the environment Marvel has become, then Reynolds is correct. The MCU will not fall because of superhero fatigue or because audiences stopped caring. It will fall because the people making financial decisions at the corporate level keep driving away the creative talent that made the franchise worth caring about. Reynolds just became the most prominent example of a problem that has been building for years. He had the leverage to say no. He had the principles to follow through. And he had the businesses outside Marvel to make walking away a real option rather than an empty threat. Other actors are watching this situation closely. The question now is whether Disney is. Ryan Reynolds built Deadpool from nothing. He fought for years to get the first film made correctly, delivered 2 massive hits outside the MCU, and then brought the character into Marvel's world with a $1.3 billion opening statement. Disney's response to all of that, according to multiple sources, was a pay cut and a lecture about gratitude. If that's accurate, Reynolds is right to walk. And the MCU's biggest threat going forward isn't any villain on screen. It's the boardroom decisions happening off it. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think Disney fixes this? Does Reynolds come back? Can Deadpool work without him? Hit the like button if this breakdown was worth your time. Subscribe if you want every major Hollywood franchise and talent story covered like this as it happens. Until next time, we'll see you on the other side.